We're back. Yeah, Ready to Love.
Ready to love.
Miami Part 2 is back, so you know we have to do it. My name's Kevin.
I'm Tarsha.
And this is Conversations with the Crawleys. And on this channel, we do a lot of conversations about faith, family, relationships. And we do recaps, reviews, and commentary on our favorite shows. The one that started it all for us, the OG of the shows that we do at least. Ready to Love is back for another Miami edition. So this is content that you enjoy. You know what to do. Hit that subscribe, hit the like, request notifications,
And share.
and we will see you in the comments. Consider becoming a member and checking out the merch store. And I was trying to figure out how I could get my little, it's not a ducktail because ducktail will be in the back. I don't know what it was, what Andre had, but I was trying to figure out something.
S-curl. It's an S.
S curl,
One
J
S
curl,
curl.
something. So, all right. So y'all know we like to have a little fun here. It's all good. All right. So new crew. This time, Tommy's only doing 16, which means, or is it? Yeah, 16, which means that they're probably going to go ahead and do some blind dates throughout the season. So,
Switch it up a little bit.
so we got Andre, who we just alluded to. He's 39. He's an entrepreneur.
Correct.
Corvaya, so they're showing up. Corvaya, who's out for Latina. In fact, if you want kind of a little breakdown as far as just who we're talking about, ages, up in the corner here, you'll see the video that we did when the cast was announced a couple of weeks ago. You can check that out. Natasha, who is an attorney, one of the things she says is that her career has impacted her love life.
Right, because she was a workaholic. She's an attorney, so I can see how that happens.
And she's been engaged once. A long time ago, she said, but she's been engaged. Z is 34, and she just wants to talk to everybody. She's like, I'm here.
Look, she's mingling. She's trying to get out there in front of it. She's been watching Ready to Love.
But she says she likes to baby her man.
Yeah, like baby.
No. Listen, I'm not that brother.
Pat your head while you're eating.
I don't need you to cut up my food. Like, who was that last season?
I can't remember. Yes.
Tranika cut up Randall's food.
Yes.
Rah, whatever y'all call him.
No, it wasn't Tranika. It was the Southern Belle. They called her the Southern Belle.
I don't know. Okay.
The one that was saying always the side chick.
Oh, yeah, I forgot her name.
I forgot her name.
Yeah. But I don't need my food cut up. I don't. In fact,
you don't want me to cut your food out?
In fact, I think one of the things you all have heard us early on in our relationship, in our marriage, she was like, you want to iron your shirts? I was like, I can iron my own shirts. My mom taught me how to do that.
I was like, whoop, dropped it.
So yeah.
Right out the room.
But she likes to baby her man. Maybe that might be part of the problem. You have men that don't want to be babied, or quality men don't want to be babied. You want to be cared for, yes. But so
Interesting.
Dre, so there's Andre,
And then there's Dre.
and then there's Dre.
Yes. Dre is 39. He's a DJ and a producer.
And a rapper, and he's short.
He indicated that.
Right.
He was indicating that sometimes that could be a little bit hard for him in the dating scene, but he takes it well with stride.
Yes. Now let us know, because we were looking at it and saying he come off like he like 19 or 20.
Yes. So based off of his dress and kind of his haircut, he makes him look like 20 years younger.
Yes. He doesn't look like a 39-year-old. What I would expect a 39-year-old to look, right?
No.
Especially when you're looking at the other guys.
Correct.
He
looks very young.
He stuck out like a sore thumb, in my opinion. Then you have Lyndon, who is 33. He's a bar manager. Says he's not a player. He just crushes a lot. And he's from Kingston, Jamaica.
Them island boys. Got an island boy.
Hopefully he doesn't have the same issue like the other island boy with.
We bring the ex-girlfriend who just got smashed a week before.
Last month.
Right.
And it's like the third of this month.
She's like, when last? That was a week ago, chick.
Yeah.
I'll try technicality.
You got Morgan, who is 38. She's an interior designer. She mentions that she's probably intimidated by Lyndon's job as a bar manager, just because, and we've heard that before.
Nice. Yes, because we had some contestants in the past, Ready to Love, where, it's the nightlife for them where they make their money.
Right. So,
but he says he's ready to settle down and get out of that life. We'll see.
Yep. Blue, whose real name is...
What is his? Oh yeah, it's Damon.
Okay.
Damien.
So yeah, he goes by Blue. He's a lounge owner. Morgan, who's a fashion designer, says she feels safe around him when they're first talking. So
we'll see.
So then Tommy's like, all right, we're about to bring out some people. We're about to introduce some folks to y'all. who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Is Rashid and Simone from the Houston Resort season of Ready to Love. Also, they do the Ages and Stages podcast, so shout out to them on that. And so they are the success story for Ready to Love. If
the only, right?
I think
Well,
there may be some
up.
other couples that may still be, or we just don't know, but they are the one couple that we can point to and say, yeah, they found love, not necessarily on the show, but through the show.
Correct.
Because if you remember their story, they had a date or two in the season, but she was dismissed. He kind of went towards the end with the young girl, and then they found love afterwards. They reconnected afterwards, so good for them. A couple of the people were talking about that there's the pressure of fewer participants because you can't hide, for one.
No, because there's 7 men and 7 women.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you have to make sure that you're getting around, right? So Mercedes is a flight attendant, and she says that has caused some problems in her relationship. I remember last season Mike was concerned because Brandy was a flight attendant.
Correct.
And she was like, I do come back home. You know, it's a round trip at some point. I come back to.
And I guess it just depends on, I don't really know how that works because like there's another show we watch and she's only gone like 3 times a week or something like that. So I'm like, quality time. When she lands, have quality times.
Yeah.
Because she ain't changing her job if y'all get together.
Make it happen. So Rashid and Simone do go around. They kind of talk and recap their time on the show. They're kind of acting as kind
like
of
a mentor.
Yes, that's a good way.
And they're like, y'all got any questions? Y'all got any questions? Y'all like y'all know what y'all doing. Because a lot of people who come on the show and they feel like they're going to use their old dating tactics and it typically doesn't work out. So it's, I would feel like, okay, I do want to, kind of get their take on things and listen, if I was the woman, listen to some of the men's responses or questions they may ask them.
And probably, in all honesty, just because we've had some interviews with some of the participants of previous seasons, probably some of the questions were more along the lines of the stuff that the producers don't necessarily want us to know.
That's true.
But we find out about how they kind of just arrange dates, maybe of people that aren't really interested in each other, or they keep people on who nobody's really feeling. So there probably has some questions related to that.
That's true.
That production's probably not going to let us see. All right. So then Tony, who I think Tony might be a Q. Tony giving me Q vibes.
Oh, fraternity.
Yeah, he might be Omega Sci-Fi. He just give me nothing against him. He just give me those vibes. But Tony has 2 kids, and he's talking with Morgan. Find out that Tony's mom is a pastor, and Morgan is very much into her church and her beliefs. And she was raised in the church, so she wants somebody that's on the same page as her. She doesn't want to be unequally yoked.
That's right.
DeMario is sitting and talking with Corvaya.
Okay.
And he's feeling Corvaya. She asked, and he does mention, or I forget if she asked or he mentioned.
No, she asked, she's like, how about therapy? Have you ever been before? And he says, yes. And she's like, yeah, I can see myself with a guy who's either in therapy or will at least consider therapy.
Right. Yeah, I think the key thing is, and the red flag for a lot of people, especially nowadays, is if you are dead set against therapy, what's wrong? What are you hiding?
Right.
Not saying that you need it, you may not need it, but to be open to it, to say, you know what, it might benefit me to go and at least have some conversations.
Because if you're talking about having a long-term relationship or end up married, at some point you're going to be in therapy.
Ask us how we know.
You need a mediator.
Right.
You don't do over 20 years on your own.
Exactly. But Corvaya is talking, and she says that her red flag is independence. And at first it was like, okay, what do you mean? But then really a lack of independence. In other words, she was saying if you have never lived by yourself, that's a red flag. If you always got a roommate, that's a red flag for her.
I hear her, and at the same time, you can be very frugal, where you're saying, like, I want to save my money up, if I'm using it for something else. So I would like to ask more questions.
Right.
Is it financial, where you're finding that maybe your passion or whatever doesn't pay for all your bills? Or you're like, well, I'm saving up for a house, or, blah, blah, blah. But he took it as being very judgmental.
Yes.
Which it came across that way because she didn't ask more questions. She was just immediately, well, I'll make it happen, because he was like last minute he had to move out. So that would tell me he was living independently on his own.
Or is open to it. So it's it was a little judgmental. It was a little too much too soon in some respects.
That's true.
Because everybody has their different things happening, right?
Oh yeah, life happens where you need to pivot and make sure you might need a roommate for a year or so.
Yeah. So Blake and Jeffrey were talking, and then Raven and Simone came alongside. Again, just kind of recap some things, but Blake and Jeffrey seemed to have a little good conversation, a little vibe there. So we'll see. Dre is sitting on the swings, kicking his legs with Marcia.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm sorry, but Dre is sitting on the swing with Marcia, and she's like, he's cool, he's funny, but there's no romance here. So, Jeffrey said that Andre was okay from afar, but then she got up close and heard the accent. She's like, ooh, interesting.
Where are you from?
So
it's always an accent that gets you.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, the accent might be interesting.
Right. A drawer.
Right. But if you weren't that attracted from afar,
he gonna have to be doing a lot of talking to stay attractive.
just keep talking in your sleep.
Talk in your sleep.
Just provide me recordings of your voice. That's all I need. So, and we find out that she has 3 kids. Mm-hmm. Okay. Blake initially says that he's intrigued by Natasha. Mm-hmm. He has 3 boys, so he says no more kids for him. With Natasha, he's like, no more. Because he's got a 22-year-old and a
16-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Yeah, so he's got them spread out.
Yeah, they spread out.
But in his talking, in his conversation, she's like, oh, he arrogant. Mm-hmm. And based upon their conversation, because she really wasn't giving a whole lot either.
No, she wasn't.
And he's like, at the end, he kind of, in the cutaway, he was like, he wasn't feeling her.
No.
He wasn't.
So then, he was like being at a bar and just talking to a stranger.
He said just talking to somebody randomly in the park.
Right. Okay.
In other words, you're sitting down feeding pigeons and just strike up a conversation.
Right.
You'll never see this person again. That's kind of how it was for him. So then, of course, Tommy brings everybody together, and it's like, all right, we got to say goodbye to Rashid and Simone. Mm-hmm. And it was buzzing around social media for a while.
Well, that they were engaged, right? So when we were looking at it, I was like, she don't have her engagement ring on. Mm-hmm. But you were like, well, this has to be before.
Right.
So, and it was because we didn't know. Surprise, he proposed on Ready to Love.
Yeah, so Ready to Love is 1 for...
For 1, right? Well, would be 1 of 0.
Or one for like 20? I don't know.
You're 1 of 20 seasons?
Well, they've had 7 seasons.
So 1 of 7 seasons?
You have potentially 10 pairings each season.
Okay.
So 70, so they're 1 of 70.
1 of 70. Okay.
Not as bad as Married. Well, it's...
Odds are higher.
A little bit, yeah. A little better on Married at First Sight. Yeah. So, all right. Anyway, so he proposes. She says yes. Mm-hmm. So then Z and DeMario are talking. Mm-hmm. And he talks about how he's family oriented. His sister passed away from breast cancer. Yeah.
He's a nephew that lives with another sister. Mm-hmm.
So then they get into the conversation of alpha male versus alpha female. He's like, he's an alpha male. She's like, that's cool. I like that. But what happens if I'm with me being an alpha female? Mm-hmm. He's like, what? How does that work?
How does that work?
What does that mean for you?
Right. At least he can ask those deeper questions.
Right.
Again, he's not trying to judge her.
Right.
But just trying to figure out what that definition is to her.
Right. Because people can say they're alpha this and beta this and whatever that.
Right.
But it could mean different things for different people.
Right.
So other conversations are happening. Probably the most notable one was a few of the ladies were talking. Blake joins in the conversation with some of the other guys. And the question of, do you want more kids comes up.
Children.
Blake is like, 87.293% against having more kids.
I just need our 40-year-old club, close to 50 club, or 50-year-old. Just be honest. I don't blame you. I got 3 kids spread out. Bringing a baby.
Yeah.
And
now, we don't. He does. He got 3 kids. We got 2. We done.
Right.
I know.
But I'm just saying.
For those that are new to the show, I wanted to make that clarification very clear. If this is your first time, we ask where you been. But let me let you know. We got 2. 19 is the youngest one.
But I think it's just the way he came across, right? He could say, I love my children. And every experience of their birth and being there as they grow older. I'm at the point in my life where now the decisions I want to make is to help them grow up and not bring more children into the world, you know.
Because he makes a very, to me, valid statement. He's like, I want to be talking about retirement fund and not college fund. Completely agree with that.
Yeah, because he got the last one, he got about 9,
10 years. Yeah. So I mean, I get it, but it's just the way how you present it, right? And then you have to realize if you're talking to someone who's never been married and don't have kids and they're 35 and they're a woman, you got to be talking about, are you still looking for, you know, to have children? Right. Because there are some ladies potentially in this group. For example, Jeffrey comes to mind. She has 3 kids. She may not be ready or wanting to have more kids.
Correct.
So then that just tells you, where do you focus your attention?
You need to focus on your attention on maybe people who already have children.
And are in the same position as you, don't want to have more kids.
Don't want to have any more kids.
And be honest about it. Because who was it? Mike last season who there was, does he want kids? Does he not want kids?
Right.
Just cut to
the chase.
Let your yay be your yay and your nay be your nay. Just
say it.
Say it. So then Tommy comes around and is like, all right, fellas, who you feeling? So the common names are Mercedes. Mercedes was like getting a lot of love.
Oh, yeah, like 4 or 5.
Mercedes.
Only 7.
Okay. Like 4 or 5. Sue-Ann, Morgan, and Jeffrey. The ones that they were not feeling were Z, Corvaya, and Natasha. Corvaya, I think, was more so that conversation, I think, was with Landon. And some of those types of conversations that she may have been having. But Z, the knock against Z was
kind of friend zoning. Like,
yes, she was a great friend. Yeah. And Natasha she didn't get in. There was no depth they felt with her. Then Tommy was like, okay, let me talk to the ladies. And who are they feeling? Well, top of their list was Tony, Blue, DeMario, and Andre. The bottom of the list were Lyndon, Dre, and Blake. So, long story short, cutting to the chase, Blake and Dre were actually the bottom 2. Dre is gone. And again, Dre, just to draw this distinction, Dre is the 39-year-old music radio person who, by his own admission, was short and felt that might have played into it. And some of the ladies just kind of were like, he's cool, but not romance. Right. On the ladies' side, Z and Natasha were in the bottom. Natasha was the one that was selected to go home.
Because again, as she even indicated, kind of self-awareness and not really opening up.
Yep.
Because it's hard, right? You got to be, especially if you're not that type of person, to come off that way. But again, she's the attorney.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, depending on what type of attorney is, you got to be in front of a court. So there is a lot of time where she didn't come off like questioning and drilling, but it still wasn't enough to show who she is and her background, at least from what we could tell how they filmed it.
And we did in one of our previous videos, we did mention how attorneys have not fared well. But someone did point out that Kira and Amber in, I think, the Houston seasons were both attorneys as well. So yeah, great note on that. We were thinking more along the lines of like the first, I think, 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons where they were attorneys and they just did not fare well at all. And then also, really quick, also, what was it? Something else. I've forgotten now. Hopefully it'll come to me. But, that was the other thing. I called it.
Oh, about Dre.
I called it. If you go back to the video that I linked earlier, and I'll link it again, Dre, I did make a prediction that Dre was probably going to be one of the first ones gone, and yes, he is gone.
Yeah, I think just a couple of tweaks to what he was wearing, and maybe to his hair, it gave him a little older feel.
A little more mature, yeah. Because we've had previous contestants where they are younger, but they come off older, but their physical age is held against them. This one, they didn't necessarily point to age or anything, but just our observation of what we were looking at, just the vibe we got was like, he just comes off young, right? So it looks like this season there are going to be some blind dates that pop up.
As
because
you're trying to predict, since
well,
they say it.
because we can see the trailer, and there's some faces in the trailer that we didn't see at the mixer. So at some point there will be some blind dates, I'm sure. And so we'll see kind of what goes on. And as always, we'll give you those recaps. We'll start to make predictions as things start to kind of firm up a little, and you'll see what we look at. So make sure you are subscribed. Lots going on.
I know. There's a lot going on in your head.
A lot going on. Anyway, make sure you're hitting that subscribe, hitting the like, requesting notifications. And we'll see you next time. Have a great one. Be blessed.
Bye.